think it's important.
I do it all the time. And then halfway through, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So you were saying,
I was saying that I've had two near-death experiences, and that first of all, I should say thanks for having me on your show, Amira.
thank
And
you. Yeah, thank you for
and
coming.
you're welcome. And I've had two near-death experiences. One was lengthy and happened while I was ice climbing when I was 20 years old in 1980. And it's a high adventure thing that I was doing. It was winter time in Canada, and I was ice climbing, and I made a mistake, and it cascaded into my death. And it was a terrifying night. And my NDE that night was long. I don't know how long I was dead for, but my partner was he wasn't trained in first aid, and we were on the cliff, and we were harnessed in about 150 feet up, 100 feet up in the dark and the cold, had been out all night long, exposure, frostbite. And when I came to, he was shaking my body. And so I don't really know how long I was dead, but my NDE itself was in timelessness, but there's a lot that happened in it. It was as I learned when I wrote the book, I read one other, maybe two other NDEs over my lifetime, and I didn't know any other near-death experiencers. Well, I knew two or three, but they were my neighbors, people from my town, and I didn't realize how unusual my NDE was, and so people tell me anyway. And then the second time I died, I had a heart attack in 2015. It runs in my family. People in their 50s, if they're not near medical, they die. I had 100% blockage in my lower descending aorta, widowmaker heart attack, and 3 to 5% of people survive these. And I was outside my golden hour. You get 1 hour before damage starts to your heart, and I was way outside that by the time I came back from death and was in the catheterization lab. So two things happened, and I'll tell the first one is, and I'm going to leave a lot out because so much stuff happened. It can take me 40 minutes to tell the whole thing, so I don't want to use up all your time. So I was in this hypothermic situation and had been increasing. Temperature was probably, I'm going to guess, 20 below Celsius. It was really cold, and a million stars overhead. We'd been fighting our way all night across this ice face, rappelling and steep cliff in the dark off to the side, and every step we're taking, it's getting colder, and we're less. We don't have any energy. We don't have any food to put in our bodies, and so we're fighting against the. It's just a terrible night, terrible, terrible night, and by the time I died, the rope was stuck. So after all this fighting, the rope finally it gets stuck up above, and I can't pull it down. It's just jammed, and now we're stuck, and there's nothing we can do about it. And our one of the things about hypothermia is that it steals your brain. It made me make poor decisions because my brain was freezing. I could feel my eyeballs freezing. It's crazy. And cold is actually felt super like fire. Like it was very hot, it felt like. So in the end, I began to fall asleep. And and then this last time I stood up after falling asleep. I was harnessed into the mountain at this place, strapped in with carabiners and safe not to fall, but couldn't go up and couldn't go down. And so I would fall asleep and I'd collapse and I'd stand back up again, pull on the rope. So I stood up this last time and I had this big black circle around my vision, tunnel vision, that began to shrink really rapidly. And as it shrunk, I thought, is this some kind of sleep? My is I didn't understand. And then when it went dark, I didn't fall asleep as I had been falling asleep, losing consciousness as I fell asleep in an instant. But this time, when this darkness came, I woke up and I was quite confused on what was going on and why I was awake because I knew that I had just fallen asleep, or at least that's what I first thought. And then I felt myself in front of my body. I was still in my body, but like a fog. Do you get fog probably down where you live too? Yep. So we get a lot of fog where I live, but it was like the fog was inside of me. I was the fog, and I was also outside of myself. And so I'm sort of floating in front of my body. And I was very surprised that felt like I was standing up when I knew I should be lying down because I'd just fallen asleep. What the heck is going on here? And in front of me, where the mountain had been, it was this big, huge, massive expanse of darkness. It was just all darkness. And then way far in the distance, a galaxy away, this tiny, it's like looking up at night and you can only see one star. It's like you see the North Star where you are? Yeah, so you see the North Star. I don't know where the equator is with you. And so you see the North Star and it's the only star in the sky. And it's like that. It's that far away and it's that bright. And then it rushed toward me, and as it rushed toward me, it expanded and spoke to me without language, like download. People talk about downloading. And so only it wasn't in language. It was higher than language. It was knowledge that without form. But what it was telling me was, you're coming with me. And I refused because I didn't really understand what was going on. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here. And it just snatched me like I don't know, like let's stick with the ocean theme, like picking up a starfish off the beach. Just picked me right up. And now I'm inside of this intelligence, this all powerful. It's showing me parts of itself. It's showing me this all powerful mightiness. But it's mystery. It's intelligence. Its intelligence was, I would compare to from an amoeba to the greatest human, all the greatest human geniuses who ever lived, if they had one brain. All of that is in this distance of between me and its immensity of its intelligence was only matched by its compassion and its welcome. And so I'm inside of this I call it an angel because I everything I'm talking about is a metaphor because there's no form on the other side. There are no molecules. I had a shape at this point. I was shaped like a human, but I was made of, metaphorically, light. And but I was also contained inside this much larger entity of light, this angelic being that was transparent, and yet also it had a solidity to it because I couldn't move. And as it took me, I felt this severing, like a huge pair of scissors snipped me from my body, and that cord of connection that people use or travel back to their body when they're in out of body experiences is like always a connection to the body. When you leave your body, it knows its way back. But that was cut, not connected anymore. And it carried me up through this darkness in the direction it had come. And as it carried me, I could see my form as light from the outside. So I'm like, I have this other point of view. I'm like the eye of God, but I'm not God. Okay, this is bigger than me, but I'm in this eye, and I am seeing me inside of this orb of consciousness that's carrying me off, and I can see me in it, and I can look through the transparency. But when I look to the transparency from this point of view, I can't see the eye, but the eye can see itself. I don't know how to explain this to it is this, there's all this paradox because the rules of physics and humanity just don't apply. So I get carried up to this edge, and I am not missing my body. I am in comfort. I'm like, it's like it's like, it's like having a glass of wine, one glass of wine, and being in a hot tub on a starry night. It's that comfortable. It's like only times a million. And it's also being fed to me. And this angelic being also wasn't the fullness of itself. It was also this much larger mystery. So it's these two things at once. It was like this entity was a limited form of this much more, well, much larger self. And so it carries me up to this edge of where the star first appeared, and now I've traveled this vast distance in a snap of the fingers, and then I am emerged into a much larger empty space, into what some call the void, only it's not a negative thing. It's not like a void is bad, because this void is good, and it's all darkness, and it's the size of the universe. Okay, I'll just say it's the size of the universe, and it's completely empty, and there's an edge to it. So I can see the edge of it, and this edge is a deeper darkness that is beyond my capacity as an expanded being to understand. I can be understand where I am, but I can't understand this infinity. And so I am gigantic now. I'm the size of a super red star, like a giant red star. And I know myself. I know that this is the truth of me. I'm like a consciousness of plasma. I'm the energy of myself is the totality of me. I know myself. I know myself, my feelings, my thoughts without language because I'm thinking, but I got no words. So I'm thinking at the speed of light. And I see, oh, and interrupt me at any time. Okay. So if you have a question, just say, stop for a second. Okay. And so I know myself, and I know myself not in an instant of like, oh, I suddenly understand this thing. No, it was, I'd always understood this thing. I had always been this. I had just forgotten. And it wasn't a new thing, it was the oldest understanding of myself, of my eternal nature, my immortality. And I understood that I'd always been this, and that I really never had been Peter. Peter was like an apartment I rented. You know, I had a studio apartment, and I was living, I had everything I needed in it, and I had neighbors and friends, but I was passing through, and it wasn't mine, it wasn't me. And so I'm back to myself again. And in this space, I can see in every direction, and this darkness is not only pitch dark black, it's also simultaneously fully illuminated. And I know that that's a contradiction, but I can't explain this. It is this fullness of light and fullness of darkness. And there's an edge to it that I can't see beyond. But that doesn't worry me. And I know that that edge is infinity. I comprehend that beyond I can't comprehend. And so as I'm in this state of expanded self, the darkness, that edge of darkness opened. And out of this darkness, as part of this infinite darkness, this light poured, and it was the size of, and so I'm this super giant red star, and but I am, it's, this is the size of a galaxy. So I'm this little tiny thing, and this is immense in this universe, and it's pouring out this light, and the light is alive. It's living light. And it is, and I know that it's living light because it's making me exist. And I comprehend that this vast space I'm in, it's also making this exist. Only in this form, it's sort of concentrated, and it's pouring out. And it's the most beautiful, most seductive, most desirous, most only want that. And as soon as I see its beauty, and when I see its beauty, I want its beauty because it's living light. And in an instant, my thought is my transportation, and I teleport to this space. And now I'm in front of it, and it's so much bigger than me, and it's has this these bunch of things are happening at once. It has this flow to it. It has a fluidity to it. But it's also like if you're standing in front of a waterfall, and it's got the mist coming off of it, and it's a big waterfall, and there's this, you're kind of enveloped in this mist. The light is coming off of it, and it is like tendrils of living existence that is life itself. And it's so beautiful, and it is pure white light, and simultaneously, paradoxically, every electromagnetic color you can see. So if you follow astronomy at all, they're using infrared and ultraviolet. Birds see in ultraviolet light, infrared light, ultraviolet light, different cones in their eyes. It's all of the colors that exist and more, and it's all of these individual pixelizations like stars in the sky at night, only very, very dense. And it's all of these at the same time. It's this pure white light. So it has this singularity to it, and it has this plurality to it. And it's not one or the other. They are the same thing. And it's got a solidity to it. I can't see through it. Simultaneously, it's got this transparent translucency. I can see its surface, I can see into it, and I can see through it into the greater darkness. And so I want this. And as I want this, I touch it with my orb self. And as I touch it with my orb self, it pulls me inside itself and opens me and pours inside me. So now it's within me and it's around me and I'm expanding, and then all these things happen at once. I have a I kind of reform into a shape closer to a hominid. Like, so I've got this light shaped human form, but I'm not a human being. I am connected in the review of my life to my just departed body. And in front of me is this gigantic eye. So now I'm this big, and it is like huge. It's like the star, like our star. And I'm just this little tiny person, and it's looking at me, and it sees me. And as it sees me, it's not just seeing me, it's creating me as it sees me. And this has always been my state of being. And so I have this, I'm made of this, of the energy that's emitted from this creator, and it's talking to me, but not in language. I am creator and you are creature. And I know this to be true. And I am like 99.9% light, but there's also darkness in me. And as I see in this, so I'm going through this life review, and what it's saying to me, I have always loved you no matter what you have done. No matter in every moment of your life, you are my beloved because I am love itself, and you are my creature, and I made you from myself. I make you from myself in the now, in the moment. And yet there were these dark parts of me, small, but they were enough that I didn't want the darkness of me to be seen, even though it was the light that showed me the darkness. And so I coalesced all this darkness into like a pinky finger sized space, and then I tried to hide it from the light. So I have this differentiation between myself and the creator, and yet I am made of the same substance of it, and yet I have this darkness, and as I try to hide it, I can't, because there's I can't, and I then am thrust inside of it. And so now I'm inside of this darkness in this confinement space. And inside this confinement space, I experience all of the lives of the people that I hurt in a chronological sequence, from the interior of their bodies, of their brains, of their emotions, of their psychology, of whatever they were feeling and thinking, while I'm simultaneously one person, but the former Peter, but I'm going through this same chronology and all these different circumstances inside myself, understanding why I wanted to cause them pain, and how I did it as I did it. And the comparison of the two, so what was that, what I was giving them, which was from my own anger, envy, greed, whatever it was, hurt, was this big, the size of a pea, but what they received, what they experienced, was the size of a beach ball. And so this the and I'm experiencing these two things at the same time. And in the same way that I am the created being of the creator, so is everybody else. And it's not like in when I was growing up in Christianity and Catholicism, Saint Peter had a book at the gate, and he's like looking down the list. It wasn't like that. It wasn't observational or witnessing. It was the being of the divine experienced every moment of my life with me, as me, and the same for every other person. And so and simultaneous to all of this, where I'm seeing the pain I gave away, I see and understand, better to say, I am shown the immensity, the unlimited nature, the purity, the benevolence, the love of this unlimited being in comparison to my own limitation. So once again, there's this measurement thing going on. The size of the love of the divine is uh, immeasurable. And I am this small little limitation, and and I understand the love that I'd always been beloved. And as I'm beginning to understand that I'm always been beloved, I've always been beloved, I understand that the very structure of our universe, universal existence, human beings, fish in the sea, birds in the air, the plants on the ground, insects, but not just Earth. The whole structure of all of the universe is this. People talk about simulation and matrix, and those have such negative connotations. But there's like this universal limitation that makes existence in this level possible. Without it, this would be heaven itself. And so there's this limitation through all things. And so it's not really my fault that I made these choices. I did make these choices, and they were willful choices, but the very structure of the place itself necessitated me to cause harm by my very existence. And so I see all of humanity at the same time, every person, and all of us are as thin as a yellow folder. This is all of us collected along the single line. And the immensity of the love and goodness that's above us is from that to the moon. It is so much bigger that our equality, we have this radical equality of brokenness and belovedness. And the belovedness took over for me when I recognized all of the love I'd given away in my life, and all the love that had been accrued to me in my life was the same as the love of the divine that was on offer to me. And all it took was for seeing all of this, and this overwhelming welcome to uh, release my shame. I wasn't like I released my shame because I wasn't being judged. There was no judgment in this. This was just, it's like you walk into an art museum and you're looking at this famous painting, and the more you look at it, you realize there's a single mistake in this. It's just there. And I was this single mistake that I had made. I'm the artist of my life, and I made these mistakes. But the painting itself, the immensity of the divine beauty, supersedes my tiny little error. And nobody judges the artist for this one tiny mistake. Maybe a hair of a brush was left in the painting, but and I am not judged at all. All I am is welcomed, and this benevolence, like a tsunami, like a 300-meter tsunami, overpowers me and frees me from myself. And this love had always been on offer. It wasn't a new thing. I had all my entire existence had, from the moment of my soul birth, was in the created force, the creative force of this divine love. And I knew this to be true. And so as it sweeps into me again, I'm expanded. And now it sucks me into itself, and I blow up like a huge balloon. And I am being filled with all of its aspects: beauty, truth, love, understanding, knowledge, compassion, paradise, bliss, awe, understanding. uh, all of these things that on earth we put in separate boxes: charity, generosity, they're all one thing. It's like maybe you've come across the 99 names of God from Islam, right? It's like all of those 99 names are with all of the names from all of the other religions, all they're all one thing, and all of those aspects are were experiential for me, and but they were singularly made of light, or maybe another word is love, or another word is beauty. But and I expand in this communion state where I am only this, and yet there's still this tiny little barrier between me and the infinity. I still have somehow a separation, even though so mystics talk about the state of union. I was in a state of union, but also I was in this communion state because there was still nothing human of me, but still a creature, not creator, but made of creator. I can't really, and while that was happening, I was condensed back into a form again. So this is happening, and now I'm having these simultaneous experiences where I'm also this human shaped form again, made of light, and my light is like the single photon, and in front of me is this field of photons that's infinite in every direction except for behind me, because behind me is I'm still in this universe-sized void. But I am all of these photons are all entangled with each other. I can see them. I can see, and it's not like one tube. It's like they're like little tiny stars, and all of the sparks off the stars, you know how kids draw them. They're all interconnected to everyone else. And so it's this field of one being. And I am one of that. I am entangled with this. And yet somehow still I'm I'm in this universe of I haven't entered fully into the infinity. And so as this is going on, I'm shown another aspect of my soul self, and this other aspect of my soul self is lower down than these, and because it's sort of below me, and out of this shield of darkness, in dark infinity, unknowableness, incomprehensibleness, is this tube, and this tube comes out. It's like a huge black tunnel, and it just appears, and I'm told I am also that. And inside of that, so it extends from this darkness, the infinity, for a period of time and space, and then all of these like worlds appear in it, and inside of all of these worlds, these are me. I am all these individuated selves experiencing individual worlds. And so I have all of these incarnated forms of, and they're not in the past, even though there's this chronology to them, they're not in the past. They are active in timelessness. And I'm up looking down, and I'm like, I want to see. And so I am brought down inside two lives early in this long history of lives. And the first life, I pop into this guy, and I'm in this guy, and I'm thinking in his brain with his language, and I'm in his body, and I'm walking down this dusty road somewhere in palm trees and low adobe like houses and donkeys and carts. It's a fairly civilized place thousands of years ago somewhere, and I'm talking to a bunch of my buddies. We're all walking together, and we're having this spiritual conversation. I've got dark skin, I've got a dark beard. I can't see my beard, but I can feel my beard, and I can see my feet. I look down at my feet, I got like long toenails, and I'm wearing sandals, and they're having this conversation. And as soon as they ask me this question, and I turn to begin to answer in this language that I know that I'm observing this guy speak, I'm pulled back out again. So I'm yanked out, and now then I'm brought kind of back in reverse of the chronology of lives, and I'm stuck inside this little tiny lizard-like creature. And now I'm looking out through its eyes, and the whole world looks different. I don't know where I was. Everything, because I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. Plus, I had this teeny tiny brain, and what I could see what was going on, and what I understood is that I was perfectly still and having two emotions at the same time, one of this perfection of stillness, and also fear, because I was hiding in the shadow and some big creature wanted to eat me. And I knew that if I stayed still, I would survive. And then I was pulled out again. And so I'm outside and then I'm once again kind of condensed down to a light form body. So I'm no longer this big plasma thing. But I'm not like it's not solid. Maybe the size of myself was in comparison to the voice that was speaking to me. The whole place reverberated with the voice, and it is everything that's around me and it's inside of me, and I'm shrunk to a memory of my parents. And so I see my mom and my dad of this life, and I say, what about them? Because when I was 14, my sister ran away from home and uh, caused all sorts of psychological damage in emotional and psychological damage in my family. To an extent that that's why I was out west in Canada, in Western Canada in the first place. I wanted to be away from this pain. And so my parents experienced my sister's disappearance as grief, unending grief. No funeral, no memorial service, no shrine to her in the house. She was never to be mentioned because every time she was mentioned, it would cause my mother to catastrophically collapse. And so I was like, but what about my folks? I'm going to, take another child from them. And when that happened, I was swept across this universe, this empty universe, except for me and the divine. And I was brought to the edge of infinity again. And I'm at the edge of infinity and I'm penetrated into the edge of infinity, but I'm not inside the infinity itself. It's like an expands into our universe. So now I'm seeing, I'm fully inside this dark void that's illuminated, but part of me is seeing the live time existence of our entire universe, planets and stars and galaxies and empty space and 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 my attention is brought to the now. And in the now, the infinite is pouring out light from this darkness, creating everything in our universe. Like I can see the light coming out, and I could see the energy and molecules forming around it, and then the whole thing is woven of it. And there's no thing in it that's not woven of this divine light. And as it's showing me this, it's also showing me it's kicking off all these other universes. Pow, 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 pow. And I can see them being made in this consistent, constant sequence, but I can't see into them. They're like big, huge black plates. And and as I see this universe and all of those universes, it speaks to me out of the infinite mystery, and it says to me, all of this is me, and I am love. And then it takes all of this love and it aims it at me like a laser beam. So like focused lensed on me. I am most beloved. I am most beloved of the size of infinity itself. And as I experience this, it says to me, all is well, all has been well, all will be well because I love myself and I am you. That's how much I love you. And as I have this experience, my vision is turned to Earth, and I can see Earth like a hologram, and I see every single living person on Earth all at the same time. And the Earth is divided into night and day, and people are doing stuff. It's like active. This is live time. People are doing stuff. There's wars and babies being born and all. And inside of every one of them, inside of every one of them is this golden fleck of like gold dust light, and it is radiant. And that's actually how it was that I could see them. They were illuminated from their interior, and there was also this fog around the earth. And this fog was dense enough so that nobody could see the light in the way that I could see the light with its intensity. And as I see this light inside of every living creature, it's not just human beings, it is everything, it's the whole universe and everything it's made out of. It says to me, I love myself and I love all of my creation. I love all of humanity with the same love with which I love myself. And so nothing is ever lost to me. Nothing is ever lost to me. All unfolds back into me. And so the message was your parents will be okay no matter what happens. Because as this is going on and I'm seeing all these people, I I see my parents' faces rise up off the surface, and I see my parents, and I see their life at the moment. They're in daylight, and I see their all of their life of suffering since my sister left, and then I see my parents kind of split, mom and dad A and mom and dad B. I see their lives going forward with me alive and without me. And there's this comparison of great suffering, greater suffering versus lesser suffering. And then I see their deaths. And in their deaths, I see this beloved nature of healing and wholeness and wellness of being is exactly where I am in paradise and where they will be. And it seems to me that it's a snap of the fingers of time because I'm in timelessness, and but I can see that it's not for their lives. I can see that the suffering will be super destructive if I don't go back. But meanwhile, the voice is saying to me, capital V, the voice is saying to me, I love you, I love you, I love you. It's time to come home. You can come home now if you want to. And so I say, well, I say to myself, that from where I am, the length of time is nothing to me. And so I say, if I go back to a life, to my life, I say, to my life, can I come back here to this paradise? And the voice says, yes, this is what you are. The welcome is always, it's eternal. And so I say, then I choose to live my life. And the voice says, you won't live your life, and throws me out. And as I'm thrown out, I'm back inside this orb of consciousness, this big orb of consciousness. And I'm being what I make up a word, densified. I'm being made more dense as I'm flying through this void. And I look back and I see I could say the gate of heaven is closed. I can't see into this anymore. But out of this, there's this white light that's pouring like this huge, gigantic laser beam. And it's going right by us, and as I look forward, I see it's creating a million doorways. And all of these doorways, in the very center of which, much larger than all the doorways, individual doorways, is this white beam of light. And it's brilliant through all these doorways and fades to the outer edge, where there's still light, but not as illuminated. And the angel, God, says to me, choose light. And I know what it wants me to choose. It wants me to choose, because it tells me to choose the fullness of the light. And I think, nah, I don't want that. I want somehow, because I had this knowing that I had to go back and speak. And because it's telling me you have to go back and talk about this, be a light bearer. And I think to myself, well, if I'm going to be accepted as a human, I have to have flaws. I can't be this purity of being because I've been working in construction all the way through college, swinging a hammer, running a jackhammer, all sorts of stuff, working. And these guys would never understand me if I wasn't like them. All of this is running through me in an instant. And in that instant, I made this choice. But I still wanted the light. So I was not in the intensity of it, but I was in one of those lesser, closer in illumination places. And as I went through this doorway, down this tunnel, inside of this tunnel were all these other portals leading to all these other tunnels, all these other doorways. And I was shot to the end of this. And I came to understand that this is like a field of probabilities for me. And I also understood that choosing light would be the path if I should so choose it. And then whatever choices I made, the light would be the lead. And so I reach the end, I'm carried to the end of this tunnel. And at this end of this tunnel, I see these shapes. and I have no concern for them at all. And I'm told one of them was my body, and one of them is this person, and but this all happens in an instant. And as I see them, the angelic being pierces the chest of, like, we zoom into this close one, and the one that's lying prone on its back, and it pierces the chest of it and scrunches me up like an aluminum ball and shoves me inside. And then I unfold inside of this unit, this containment unit, which is, I am feeling like, what has just happened to me? I was this expansive being. Now I'm stuck inside of this thing, and all these thoughts are happening to me, and I want out. And as I look up, I can see the angelic being has taken more of a shape, and it closes this. It's like an eye in my chest, and it just closes that eye, pinches it shut. And now I can't see outside this thing, and I'm inside this form, and I don't want to be here, and I regret my decision. And then I feel the brain of this thing turn on, like an old time radio from the early 20th century, where the tubes get warm, and so the tube of my brain heats up, and as this, now I'm becoming this thing as it heats up, and all of a sudden everything hurts. Like, the first experience is the confinement hurts, the fingers hurt, the whole thing, everything is in pain. And it's not just the physical pain that was caused by the trauma of the night, it's existence itself compared to this wholeness of healing and wellness of being. And I have this contrast. This joy is gone. And as I'm there, my ears come online, and I hear screaming and yelling, and I open my eyes because I don't understand it, because I don't comprehend language at this point. I just know that something's going on, and my eyes open up, and then I see Tim, this guy who's my climbing partner. I see his face, and he's crying and he's screaming. He's in agony, and I read the depth of his suffering in an instant, and then he sees my eyes open, and his eyes like get wide, and it's, ah, you were dead, you were dead, you were dead. And he pulls me up, and so I'm standing up, and he's talking to me, and he reattaches himself to his strap. He had undone himself to get to me, and on this edge, 100 feet up, just, and I'm kind of, my body's kind of half off the edge, um and 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 I begin to understand him, and he's like, I thought you were dead, because if you died, I was gonna definitely die, and I didn't want to die. And and then after a period of time, I kind of remember who I am. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm Peter, and this is Tim, and I'm on this rock, and what just happened to me? So I'm having this bilocation thing that never went away. Like, I am up here, but I'm also in this thing, in this world. And Tim got me to pull the rope one more time, and I pulled the rope, and it came free, and down we descended. And our tent was at the bottom, and we self-treated for hypothermia through the early morning hours of light, and survived. And I came back an entirely different person, with my same brain and skills. So I'm an entirely different person in terms of my intention and direction, but I'm still, I still have allergies. I still get, whatever's wrong with my body and my brain, I still get those things. And I, everything around me was illuminated. Everything was pouring out light. And it, it quickly became overwhelming to me that I couldn't comprehend what I was, who I had become, what I was seeing, and the anger that I had when I came back for having chosen to come back. And that's number one.
I have so many questions. That was just one of the best NDEs I've ever listened to, because it was so detailed, and I felt like I could kind of imagine what you were describing. Obviously, I cannot fully imagine it because I wasn't there and I never had an NDE. But so one of the things you said when the creator was looking at you, it was creating you as it was seeing you.
Yes. Always, always, since the moment of my creation. And so it's
Okay.
always, so I had this long existence, but it was always in the now. I was always being created.
Okay. So you and this is you, the expanded version of you that can look into many different lifetimes. This is not just the Peter you. This is the
Correct.
expanded version of you. Okay. And then so that you, the big you, is always in creation right now. It's still in
Always,
creation.
always, always. That is still who I am.
Okay.
And part of that came back with me. The
Yes.
part that came back with me was the knowledge that that is who I am. And it was over the decades now, it's, how do I, I've become more integrated with it. But especially initially, I was living in two places at the same time. It's like I had a wall eye. I was seeing heaven all around me and up above me, and my other eye was seeing the physical nature of everything. And
Mm,
it's like I had one foot in heaven and one foot here. So I was living this sort of, well, crazy life
mm.
where I was always in this state of being of knowing of my eternal nature and yet being stuck in this very
Yes.
unsophisticated form.
Yes, but you mentioned earlier it's the limitation, and limitation is not a negative word. It just means the you have the ability to be physical, to exist physically.
Exactly.
So part of that limitation is not remembering that, not knowing that now as you, this you. Okay, okay. Then I want to know about so whew, okay. So there's all these lives, different lives, and you saw them. You could, so did you choose the two, the lizard and the toenail guy, or you didn't choose them? You
Didn't
just
choose
went
them. They,
in there.
I was just shown the entire experience was the only choice that I had was to live or die. Otherwise, everything happened to me.
Okay.
I did have
Okay.
that choice, but everything was by grace,
Yes.
not by decision.
Okay. And then you said something when you were in the lizard that was so profound for me, but it sounded so simple. And you said the lizard had two emotions, stillness and fear, but it knew then that when it was still, it would be fine. And I don't know why, but I just needed to hear that in my own context and my own understanding. So thank you for saying that because I understand more and more about stillness by listening to things like this. Like you don't stillness in itself, the word stillness doesn't mean much. It means be still. But what does that mean? How can you be still on all levels of your existence to know, you know? Like when you're thinking and even when you are being, you are not still enough to just know, you know?
I do, and there
Yeah.
are, it's stillness is a taste of the infinite.
Yeah.
It's this and it's not always it. So I've been practicing. I practice Kriya yoga and centering prayer for the whole of my life now, ever since then, to try to drop into these places of stillness, this place of stillness. And so it grows, creating the space inside myself, this expanded space inside myself of stillness. But in my actual practice of meditation, I drop in and out of this stillness. And yet it leaves this residual that's accessible to me.
Mm,
Partly that's biological, it rewires my brain, but most of it's here, where
mm,
this peace exists, and independent of me. And the one of the biggest lessons I learned was that I am not who I think I am,
mm,
and that when I'm thinking of who I am, I'm assured that that is not me.
mm,
And so the practice of stillness gives me access to this peace. And recently, the joy that I had on the other side, which I left behind. And so NDE isn't this static thing. It's this, it's mineable.
mm,
You can, I have been digging my way into it through my practices of stillness and revisiting it in my mind. And, and, and then there are revelations that come to me that I knew when I was there, but didn't
mm,
have the capacity to understand them while I'm here.
mhm, mhm,
And so a bunch of stuff came back with me, but then my NDE keeps giving more to me because I only brought back a thimbleful. And
mm,
this was the size of the universe. And my comprehension was far exceeded my brain's capacity here. And
mm,
so the practice of stillness is an ongoing thing for me. I'm still practicing it. I'm not, I have some success here and there with it, but I'm still in the practice of it.
mm.
And the path is ongoing too, because it doesn't just end at my death. I have all these other lives, not just the ones where I was incarnated, but more importantly to me, my higher levels of my soul selves, all of which are made of the same essence of the divine. And
Mm.
so my pursuit isn't so much this life anymore. This
Yes.
is just one of the things that I'm using this lifetime. People are like, so what's your purpose? And in Christianity, I was a minister. In order to survive in our culture, I became a Protestant minister so that I could practice my spirituality with a mask on and earn a living while I was doing it and do good in the world. But in my own interior journey, my it's in Christian language they call it the calling.
Mm,
Other people call it mission. Some people call it purpose. But in Christianity and in the milieu that I was in, it's your calling. And my calling wasn't to do anything in particular.
mm,
My calling is to the light itself. And what I do is, as a result of my calling to the light, it's not incidental to it. It has purposeful action with it, but
mm,
it's as a result of this other thing. It's not the pursuit of. I worked a lot with domestic violence. I worked a lot with grieving people. All those things that I did in my ministry life were driven by this primary calling to and which came from this anger and this longing, this
mm,
separation. I wanted this one thing. That energy came back with me. I know its existence because I can feel it, and
mm.
I want this one thing. So it drove me in pursuit of this singular, eternal nature. And so my orientation hasn't ever really been about this lifetime, and it's not about any of those other lifetimes either.
Mm.
It's about this higher thing,
Yeah.
which I think is true for everybody else. So this
Yeah.
isn't exclusive to me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one structured like this.
Yeah.
I experience that we all are. And so it's like, okay, everybody, live your life, do your thing. I won't interfere. But here's the thing, you're not from here and you don't have to stay here, and that heaven is present if you want to live there. I live in heaven now. That doesn't mean my life is perfect or
Yeah.
pain-free or I don't make mistakes, and it isn't hard at times, but this interior space is always dominant for me. And I was afraid when I came back that it wouldn't be. I knew it was then, but I was fearful that it wouldn't be. I would lose this. And so I began the study of mysticism and meditation and practices in order to cultivate the space. And as it turns out, they were all right. The wisdom tradition from around the world, they know what they're talking about. You can cultivate this space. And if you cultivate this space, you can bring heaven present to you. And if you bring heaven present to you, it makes life a lot easier, even when it's hard.
Yes. I still have so many more things that I want to dive into, but maybe we can get together again and we can do it some
Yeah,
other
soon,
time.
if you want to,
Yeah, I would
sooner
love
than
that.
later.
I've got so much more that I want to dive into, especially like about the creator and how the creation works and all of that. Like that is like a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. So I would love it if we could have another discussion sometime.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.